as I was watching these YouTube videos, explaining what the hell is going on with these files, geopolitics, and religious historical events that, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, there's these religions and historical things that people fight about, Palestine, Gaza, blah, 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 whatever. There's Israel, there's issues. And we're told that there's deeper issues that go back years and years and years, and it's very religious. And in my head, I'm thinking we live in the modern day world. Yes, I am, in a way religious and spiritual, not to one specific doctrine. I appreciate all religions, and I do believe that we are all one. We're all one energy divided into infinite souls, or, this me, this chain, these glasses, maybe not so much materialistic, but things that have consciousness, that fly, that deer on the side of the road that can see and observe this universe that we live in. So that soul is the same, but maybe perspectives are different, whether it's the evil person sitting on top of a political hierarchy or whether it's a peasant that's being tortured by this specific individual in their basement. And their basement, why? Because it's kept secret. When you do bad things, like I've said in a previous video where it was talking about how I found interest in history by learning and, suffering in life. And, it makes you think and look back, like, okay, what did I do wrong? Or what happened a couple years ago that caused a bad thing to happen, or that caused me to be in a specific position that I am, good or bad? You look back at things, the older you get. And I started looking into, there's very few things that I feel trustworthy. I literally just walked by the local news station that's coming on our family TV in the living room, and they're talking about something about Kentucky barrels being production stopped or something. I don't know what the hell. I could just tell, and I had a feeling, and I can see in the news reporter's eyes that he was reading a script. Yes, you're not going to have the whole thing memorized when that's your job. You have to read the news every day. But it's a script. It feels like a script, like a show, like some movie that's being shown to us. Specifically, when someone shows you a movie or releases something online, or, it's a production of some sort of theatrical event, whether it's a movie, whether it's a play, whether it's a TV show. Whatever is shown, there's stuff that's been edited out. There's filters added, the storyline. You can have one storyline the way you film it, but you can cut up different things and put it together and make a completely different story to favor one person or the other. That's a whole other topic I can go into. This video, I really some feelings have been coming up inside of me the more I've been learning about this Jeffrey Epstein situation. And 4 or 5 years ago is when it was like big, and like, things were coming out and people were having this realization, like, is this really happening? Like, is all of the stuff that they've been saying online, and I'm not gonna repeat everything. There's other videos discussing that, and I find it, like I said, I'm watching this newscaster reading a script, but then I watch someone on YouTube like Professor Young, I believe his name is. Finally, I get it right, hopefully. Correct me if I'm wrong. Predictive History is his channel's name. I can see him. He is speaking from a stream of consciousness as he's teaching his students in his international school, private school, China, that he is currently a teacher at, and I can feel the unbiasedness. I can feel him wanting the students to ask questions, and one of the things that he discussed, in depth kind of, but I would love it if he would make more videos. If you hope, I don't know, randomly Professor Young is watching this video, I'd appreciate, or I would really like more information if you can go more in depth on Jacob Frank. And this video is going to be vaguely based on how I believe Jacob Frank, the Frankist, the leader of the Frankist movement, which I will make a separate video on. And if you have clicked on this video, you might maybe have an idea of what Frankists are, who they are, who Jacob, I have this Wikipedia pulled up. Very scary looking guy. Let me show you a quick image of him. Can you see that? So, frightening individual. You can just look him up. Transgression, or what was it? Redemption through sins. I'm going to throw out a word that is going to be used a lot. Transgression. Transgression is when you do something that's sinful. Vaguely put it, sinful. The stuff Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy were using to this transgression. Doing sinful. Like a transgression would be something inside, this is not right. Abusing people is not right. Maybe you might make a profit from it, but it's not right. Transgression. That's one of the terminologies, which is used a lot in Frankist movements, in the Frankist, religion. And I'm going to read out a little bit of what the Wikipedia has to say about it. Religious leader who claimed to be the reincarnation of the self-proclaimed Messiah Sabbatai Zevi, 1626 to 1676. And also for the biblical patriarch Jacob. The religious authorities of the Jewish community literally kicked this guy out, him and his followers, due to his weird doctrines that, I'm paraphrasing what I'm reading, weird doctrines that included defecation of himself, which I guess shitting on himself, defecation of maybe, I don't know. I think defecation isn't a positive word, of himself as a part of a trinity, and the other controversial concepts such as neo-karpalka. I wish I can pronounce some of these words. Basically, he was kicked out. People say that he was promoting the opposite of what the Jewish teachings and Christianity teachings were teaching. He believed that the things that the Holy Book says to do, in the sense of do good, I think there's those commandments or whatever, his ideology was to do the opposite. And this is also a grand scheme of why to do evil things. And I sat there and you think your whole life, you're like, why are people so evil? What's the point of hurting someone, harming someone? Yeah, maybe you can make profit by trafficking or drug selling, and it's going to harm people, or making the prices of houses so high where it's like you can barely afford it, and it's going to it causes damage to people. I get why certain people do certain things, but when you abuse someone for no reason, in Epstein's case, I guess the reason was to blackmail, but I'm sure he himself found some pleasure in abusing people, which is a very, evil thing to do and think about. And once, like I've talked about in a previous video, if you've crossed that line, I think it was a Jewish wisdom of misplaced humility. Once you've crossed that line, once these politicians hanging out with Epstein's crossed the line of, shit, I just did this with this minor, unknowingly or knowingly, maybe because everyone's, you get put in this weird group of people who think they, and maybe most likely won't get in trouble because the people who put people in trouble are in that same party. These world governments, Russia, this is just a thinking. Imagine this is how would you say it? A theoretical way of thinking about something. Hypothetically, let's say there is a party with world leaders in them: Russia, Israel, US, world leaders where countries are going to war. Let's say India, Pakistan. But it doesn't have to be the presidents, but the people in charge, hidden, secretly in charge, behind the scenes, because whatever you see is just what they want you to see. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, because it is going to sound, the more you look into stuff, the more you're like, yo, am I schizophrenic? Am I in the first or the last stages of a acid trip? What's going on here? None of this really seems real. I really do think Jeffrey Epstein was the second coming of Jacob Frank. Jacob Frank himself thought he was the reincarnation or a messiah. When you have these certain ideologies, that is powerful enough because it has a certain energy behind it, whether that energy is evil or good or bad is beyond us. We give things meaning. The words that you are reading maybe you're watching subtitles here, you read something, you've read probably something today. This deodorant says tone on it. The word tone might have different connotations or meanings to me and you. Tone of voice, tone color. What tone color do you want? A tone. Why are you speaking to me in that tone? There's different ways, and we will associate things and give meaning depending on what we have gone through and our belief systems allow us to believe. Sometimes disgusting, decrepit, just things you would never imagine happen. These files got released, and then it just destroys your whole, you think you're going crazy, but you're not. Trust me. Learn more, watch more. If you found this stuff even a bit interesting, I'm sure you clicked on this video, you have some knowledge. These words make sense to you. You've seen these somewhere, that's why you clicked here. Let me know in the comments below what you think is going on, who you think these people in control are, what you personally feel inside right now. Is it confusion? Is it anger? These feelings that we feel inside of us because of what's shown to us or what's not shown to us. These blacked out files. I'm gonna make more videos regarding this topic. This is just gonna be like a stream of consciousness, and I haven't even thought of the title yet. Something along the lines of the second coming. Frank Jacob is the second coming of, or Jeffrey Epstein is the second coming of Frank Jacob. Not to idolize these people or anything, but this is the devil, basically. People believe that when there's enough sin, when enough sin has happened, and if you've watched this far in this video, I'm going to tell you something that maybe you haven't really heard somewhere else, and I appreciate if you've come this far, watched me. Leave a like, let me know your name in the comments below. I want to learn more about you. And I lost my train of thought. I remember now. People, not only in one religion, not just the Jewish religion or Christianity religion, Hindu religion, most, I think all religions have this one thing. Even Krishna came, they say Kalki, I think, is the last incarnation avatar of Krishna. Every time Vishnu's avatar. Every time Lord Vishnu, which is the supreme being that comes into a human form, at times of when the world is being destroyed, when there is sinful activities happening and there is evil everywhere. Purification through sin is what Jacob Frank preached. When you commit enough sins in the world and there's enough people committing these sins, the Messiah, the prophet, the second coming, Jesus, God, Vishnu, whoever will eventually come. Not as maybe, who knows, maybe it might come out of the sky in a horse with a mustache, killing the evil people and bringing good back when the Kali Yuga has ended. The Kali Yuga cycles, I encourage you to look it up. We're currently in the Kali Yuga, maybe. And when that happens, Kali Yuga is a world of sinful activities. Everywhere you look, it's just disgusting habits everyone has, including myself. I mean, I grew up going through addictions and hurting myself implicitly by, abusing substances or, having negative ways of thinking, surrounding myself with bad people. Everything is usually your own fault. You can't really blame. I mean, yeah, you can blame the society you live in, but yourself. So I'm not speaking here like I'm some holy person who's never done anything wrong. I'm sure you haven't either. So the first step is just realizing that you are not a saint. We live in a world full of sinners and people doing disgusting things, and not to say you are or I am, but just to realize that you are not better than anyone. Just because someone, obviously there's lines that you cross that you can't ever come back, of sins and doing bad things. But you do something, you recognize that it's a mistake, and there's ways to redemption. I believe that forgiveness is a thing, like Jesus even preached that. But obviously you might be forgiven by God, but sometimes the acts that, let's say, Jeffrey Epstein and all of those people committed, society sometimes will not forgive. And I am not a god, and I would not forgive someone like that. And I believe karma happens. So, like P. Diddy, that caused my second existential crisis. This is going to cause my third existential crisis. These existential crises slowly break down your belief systems in your brain because you have a network of belief systems. And when one breaks, a few of them shatter. And sometimes when your belief system shatters, some evil person can come in, whether that's through social media, whether that's through just reading news articles, and you feel confused, and a narrative can be inserted into your brain and you will start believing that. If you found this interesting, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to make more videos regarding this. I wanted to go more into Frank Jacob and why I think Jeffrey Epstein is literally of another. And Jeffrey Epstein isn't just one. It's a character. There's many people like Epstein who haven't gotten in trouble. In every state, I'm sure there's an Epstein type character, who mingles around with the local politicians, does transgressions with them to blackmail them, just so there is some sort of control. Thank you for watching. Be safe and be aware. Ask questions and question everything. Thank you.